Once again, welcome back to the program. ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਸੈਗਮੈਂਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਵਾਉਣ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਵੀਨ ਗਿਰਨ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਈਮਨ ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਸਰਚਰ ਹਨ ਅਤੇ ਕਾਮਾਗਾਟਾ ਮਾਰੂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਲਾਂਚ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ, ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕੀਤਾ। ਆਓ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਇਨੀਸ਼ੀਏਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਕੀ ਮਕਸਦ ਸੀ ਅਤੇ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਇਸ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਜਾਗਰ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ। Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
So, Naveen, a little bit about yourself ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਿਸਰਚਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ।
That's right.
ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹੜੇ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਕਰਕੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਐਕਸਕਲੂਸਿਵ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ?
Well, the thing about the Komagata Maru is that it's a very important story from 1914. You know about it, many of the viewers know about it.
Right.
What we wanted to do was do three main things. First off, we wanted to get these cool primary source documents, government documents of different ministers, ambassadors, spies who were looking at the Komagata Maru and analyzing it from a government perspective. So we have all those brought onto our website. The second thing was looking at the South Asian Canadian story.
Right.
So for the very first time, we have the perspective of the Indians living in Canada of what it was like when the Komagata Maru arrived. We went to this gentleman's house, Singh, who was the secretary of the 2nd Avenue Gurdwara, and he had this diary that he had kept from 1906 until 1944. So for the very first time, we had the perspective of the South Asian community of what the Komagata was like when it arrived. He also had this handwritten passenger list as well too. I get excited talking about it because there's a handwritten passenger list of the names of the passengers, the village they came from, how old they were, how much money they came with. All the information was there in his house. So we're able to put this perspective in as well. The third thing was showing that the Komagata Maru story is not a story of 1914. It connects to today as well too. So we have interviews with community activists, with artists, with scholars who are inspired and motivated by the Komagata Maru and their daily life and how it influences them that way. And we also have educational documents.
Okay.
So students who are grade 4s or grade 11 or grade 12 or even first, second year university students can learn about the Komagata Maru, engage with the website, and I'm happy to say that it'll be used this fall with UBC, SFU, and Kwantlen.
Okay. So basically, how did this get initiated and how much time did it take to complete this?
Yeah, well, it's the 98th anniversary of the Komagata Maru project, and the project was funded by the federal government, by Citizenship and Immigration Canada. And the idea behind it was that there's this large amount of primary source documents out there that were getting lost, that they were getting older, that need to be saved in a certain place.
Right.
And the SFU came on board and said, we have the resources, we have the facilities, we'll do this for you. So the SFU put the application forward, they joined with the community, and it was a great process that had some great advisory panels on it, lots of community members who showed us what to find, where to find linkages, how to make networks with people,
Right.
how to make it a community project. So over the course of a couple of years, actually, we gathered the information, digitized it, and I'm proud to say that the website is the most comprehensive website of the Komagata Maru in the world.
And when you say it took some years,
Hanji.
can you be precise? How much time did it take and how many people were involved in getting this information?
Yeah, all these things are a large team effort. So the team I was working on had about 15 members on it. There's an advisory panel with another 15 people on it.
Right.
The SFU, and SFU itself as well too, there were different advisory panels as well. So a large amount of people working on it, recognizing the importance of the story and wanting to give justice to it. And over the course of, I'd say 18 to 24 months, it all came together. But the thing is that we always had these connections there. SFU professors, for instance, have been writing about the Komagata Maru for quite some time. So for instance, Hugh Johnson's book, which is the sort of landmark text on the Komagata Maru, is digitized and put there. Texts from authors from UBC, from other universities as well, are all there. So it has academic journals, it has books, it has photographs, it has passenger lists, it has videos, all those things.
Right. And when you say that so much research has gone into it and it's the most comprehensive website which is available today, we as common people just know about the basic things that in 1914 Komagata Maru came, they were not allowed to enter, and then it went back, and in Calcutta again there was firing and people died.
Of course.
So if you could take us into this journey, because the name of this website also, Komagata Maru, continuing the journey.
Of course.
What are the major highlights which, while doing the research, you found out, which the people need to know?
Well, there's interesting documents that we found. For instance, the Gadar movement that was happening at the time period. The Gadar movement was something that was based out of North America, San Francisco in particular, and it was a freedom movement that because of 1914, it tried to get freedom from India, from the British, from Britain. So we have documents from Gadar movement. We have newspaper articles. We have documents of people going back and forth. Some of the coolest and most interesting things are town meetings. There was, when the Komagata Maru was docked in Broad Inlet, there was a meeting held by the South Asian community in a building that still exists on Hastings Street, and they gathered together to raise $50,000 for the Komagata Maru. And at that time period, if you're getting paid 5 cents an hour, a couple dollars a day to raise $50,000 to help pay for lawyers' fees, to take over the ownership of the Komagata Maru was such a great community spirit. We have those stories. We have the minutes from those meetings because the Canadian government sent spies to see what was happening. So we have those minutes. And seeing links between that history and other people's history as well too. So for instance, the Vancouver Art Gallery, which used to be the old courthouse, the story of Mewa Singh and the shooting of Hopkinson, all those stories take place there too. Even afterwards, once the Komagata Maru goes back, there's stories of assassinations in the Vancouver community. All those stories are important, but also threading the story out. So continuing the journey, for instance. So the website talks not just about 1914, but about getting the right to vote in 1947. There's this, I know you'll be happy to hear this, there's Nehru's visit in 1949. He came to Vancouver with his daughter Indira Gandhi. And he mentions in this recording that we found, this record that hadn't been heard in 63 years, he mentions that I wanted to come to Vancouver because I knew about the history of the Komagata Maru. I knew about the history of the community here. So he goes to Toronto, he goes to Ottawa, and he comes to Vancouver, those two places. And he says, you know, because it's 1949, he talks about partition, he talks about the assassination of Gandhiji, he talks about India as an independent country, and most importantly, he talks about how Indians living outside of India can feel an association with the country they live in. So in a sense, he's talking about multiculturalism years before Trudeau. So there's so many great resources there.
And in this website, while doing the research, as you said, you have also met some people who had those personal diaries and a lot of other documents.
Of course,
So basically, the psychological as well as the emotional impact at that time, which the Indians who were living over here faced, and they all got together and raised the money, as you said. So do we also find some documents which show that the kind of involvement which the common people were having apart from the leaders which were there?
Of course, all those things are there. The point was to show as many voices as possible, show as many diversity as possible. So we get the views from the government officials, from temple officials, from everyday people. All those things are incorporated.
Okay. And how did this incident, you know, like you have in this brochure which you have brought, it says that this incident affected the Indo-Canadian community in a big way. Now, if we just go back to those years, the conditions at that time were different, racial profiling was there, the situation was absolutely different. But how do we correlate with today's life? And in this website, have you also tried to bring in those common aspects, whereas what the common people now feel?
For sure, Jay. Well, there's I think 3 parts to your question. So the first part, we have tried to bring in this idea of the commonality of the people, for sure. It's not just a story of the elites of the community or of elites of different sectors of the community. It's about how everyday people negotiate with the story of the Komagata Maru. I think the Komagata Maru is one of those stories that people know about. It's one of those major moments in South Asian Canadian history. There's Chinese head tax, there's Japanese internment, there's Komagata Maru, with these stories of these minority people and what they had to go through. So in a sense, it's bringing that story to the forefront, and how it relates to today is seeing how those stories sometimes correlate. How people still go through those same emotions of racism, of difficulty, of ostracization, of being othered. All those things still exist today. And the Komagata Maru threads those stories back through time to show how they still were there and how others dealt with them. And also importantly, I think what it shows is that people today can show a sense of connection to the history of Canada. The Komagata Maru is not just a South Asian story, it's a story for all Canadians to understand. And particularly for South Asians, if they want to know about the history, it doesn't go back to the 70s, it doesn't go back to the 50s, it doesn't even go back to 1914, it goes to the 1800s. And the Komagata Maru is one of those important stories that tell that.
And since the time you have started this website, if you can tell the name of this website, and is it apart from the documents, are there some audios and videos also towards the end? And how is it relevant today, and why should especially the South Asians go to this website and see it?
So the website is called KomagataMaruJourney.ca, and it's in English, French, Punjabi, and Hindi. So the whole thing is translated. And we have, like I mentioned, we have videos from scholars, from community members, from academics, from poets. We have audio clippings. We have old historical photographs as well, too, from personal family archives that have never been seen before, as well as government archives that also haven't been seen before either. And we also have we have 2 interesting aspects as well. The passenger list, like I mentioned, the names of all the passengers, where they came from, as well as biographies of the passengers as well, too, and the key players as well, and an interactive timeline. So you can scroll through sort of this world map and look at the major moments of the history of the South Asian community in London, in BC, in India, and around the world.
Wonderful. Congratulations for this initiative, and I hope that this will be a good resource for the community as well as for those who are interested in knowing more about Komagata Maru. Best wishes and thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay.
ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ ਨਵੀਨ ਗਿਰਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਈਮਨ ਫਰੇਜ਼ਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਜੈਕਟ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਰਿਸਰਚਰ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਹੈ kamagatamarujurney.ca। ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਨੇ ਕਾਮਾਗਾਟਾ ਮਾਰੂ ਦੇ ਸੰਬੰਧ ਵਿੱਚ, ਕੋਈ ਆਡੀਓ ਫਾਈਲਸ ਹੋਣ, ਵੀਡੀਓ ਫਾਈਲਸ ਹੋਣ ਜਾਂ ਡਾਕੂਮੈਂਟਸ ਹੋਣ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਹਨ। ਸੋ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਮਾਗਾਟਾ ਮਾਰੂ ਬਾਰੇ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਇਸ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਤੇ ਜਾਓ ਅਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਜ਼ਾਫਾ ਲਾਓ। ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਿਰਫ ਕਾਮਾਗਾਟਾ ਮਾਰੂ ਦੀ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਜੋ ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਦਾ ਸੋ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਨਿਚੋੜ ਕੇ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਵੈਬਸਾਈਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟ ਲਓ।